Good evening, everypony, and welcome to Commentary as Magic Stream on today's Sunday, September 8th, 2019. I am, as always, Grand Balls.
Big Cheese?
Arcat and...
Murloc. Ivory Starlight.
Okay, we got that out of the way.
There you go. Now we don't have to do that again, and I can actually sleep tonight.
No.
Not going to sleep. Today is going to be a bit of a fun stream, because all the other streams have been completely unfun.
Yeah. What's up?
So we thought we'd mix it up and actually do an enjoyable one for once. This week, we're going to be taking a look at how cards get developed. This can include every process of card development from design, initially, evolution of that card during playtesting, the final version of cards and how those are locked in, and even a few peeks at some cards that have never seen the light of day, because, believe it or not, some of the card effects that have been tested over time, they weren't always completely fair. Some of them were kind of broken.
Not the best ideas?
Not the best ideas. Now, some of the best ideas also made it to print. Nobody's perfect. But, we do try our best to cull a few of those out of the way. I remember, in particular, how radically cards would change back in Crystal Games and Absolute Discord, and I'm sure that you guys have seen similar effects in your playtesting careers. So, Ara, what's the first one that we're taking a look at today? What's the first step of design?
Well, the first step of design is, of course, design. You have to figure out what a card might do in the first place. And I think a good example of this is lacking lesson plans.
Lesson 1, how to make lesson plans?
Correct. Oh, that's good. I didn't even plan that.
Works well. So, design can come from two different perspectives at the beginning. What we commonly refer to as either top-down or bottom-up design. Top-down design usually refers to cards where you start with a flavor idea. It could be a particular character, a memorable scene, something like that. And from that particular scene, you try to design the mechanics of what the card might do.
Sure. So as an example of top-down design, we'll take something like, I don't know. Let's just start with Devil Babby. Well, she obviously causes problems, so let's make her make lots of problems for both players.
And figuring out rules and being annoying and
making the judges drink at night, yes.
Release me.
Exactly.
Thank you for that.
Now, lacking lesson plans is an example of the opposite. Lacking lesson plans is bottom-up design. That means that you start with a mechanical idea for what you want the card to do, and then flavor is designed to correspond with that mechanics or is added on top, and sometimes it's just kind of slapped on.
Yeah, the show doesn't always have perfect analogies for, what we need right now? We need a starting problem that says, actually, screw your troublemakers.
I think we need to reach out to the show staff for Generation 5 and let them know that the card game is still going on and ask if they would be kind enough to consult with us before writing the seasons.
Yeah.
That'd be a good idea.
I'm sure this will end well.
Or one of us should just infiltrate and be a writer for the show.
Perfect. Flawless. I see nothing that can possibly go wrong. Now, when it comes to lacking lesson plans in particular, this card and other cards before it have sometimes been created with a specific purpose in mind. Sometimes you'll create a card because you find a mechanical effect and you think, oh, that's pretty neat, and let's see what it does. Other times you know exactly what a card is going to do when it's added to a meta, even before you start playtesting it. This is an example of that. This card was suggested by a playtester basically word for word. Every number that was on this card, effect of it, how everything lined up, was done after we had seen what the Tempest control decks, especially what Tempest control decks were looking like in the meta for Sequestria. And it was determined that there needed to be an answer that not only deal with that, but also allow some of the confront to flip mains to have a better chance against Skystar, who was capable of starting a very, very early double problem face-off and moving away your easy to confront starting problem. So sometimes you get a card and it just kind of gets locked in and nothing has to change. This was how it was presented in the first wave of playtesting for Friends Forever, and this is how it ended up.
This card saw 0 changes. I want to talk a little bit about why these numbers are important. You have Concerning Cutie Mark, which is lovely because a confront to flip main and basically any 2-power body, which you have at least one of in your deck because I hear entry is good, right? Okay, right.
You sure?
Entry's good. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty sure entry is good. Is sufficient to flip the main on turn 2. Or if not earlier, if you're dealing with a blue, confront to flip main and Loyal Pony. But on the other side, this 6 is very important because if this is any lower than 6, it gets to a point where you are in danger of losing this to Skystar turn 2 because she opens with Searching, plays some shells, moves Skystar, and causes a DFO turn 2. So this actually cannot have a opponent confront requirement of any less than 6 or it fails to work.
Correct.
The player's confront requirement should not be as easy to get as Concerning Cutie Mark because you do need to give something up for the opportunity to be able to confront this almost without question, regardless of troublemakers, on turn probably 3, but possibly 2. Unless, of course, you are a blue confront to flip main and you've got Greta, is it?
Yes.
Yeah. So there are some trade-offs here, but I think most players will agree that the effect on this is easily worth that extra power needed to confront.
And as we've seen from the current meta, there have been a number of decks using confront to flip mains, like Thorax or like Fluttershy Nurturing Nature,
Obligatory hissing.
Which have been doing very well, among other confront to flip mains too. And this problem is an answer when they happen to go up against Tempest or Skystar. It's not for every deck, but for some decks, it's worth one inclusion. Now, the design process that took place for Lacking Lesson Plans is not typical. Usually a meta doesn't telegraph itself so clearly that you know exactly what is going to happen or exactly what the effect of a card is going to be. And so you'll start with something and then you'll change it and you'll change it some more and change it some more and eventually you'll get somewhere with it. Let's take a look at a few of those, some cards that have evolved through testing.
All right, so now we're getting into the fun bit. We're going to peel back the curtain a little bit and we're going to look at cards that not in their final form.
This is... Wait, what?
So this is the White Acellus main from Friends Forever, I think as it was originally presented to playtesters. It's still confront to flip, but the backside says, while you have a friend with 3 or more power, this card's power is equal to the highest power amongst your friends.
So, this boosted ability was not great.
What do you mean this is not great?
No, it's clearly fine, right?
This is 100% fine, because I'm just going to go ahead and play, Rockhoof, who's going to get up to stupid amounts of power, and now I've got a main that's large?
I mean, sure. And if you have the time to build up to that, that can be nice.
But until then,
But it starts so small.
Correct.
starts at very small.
So if you
Explain
had
your
a
smallness.
if you had a friend with 3 power and you didn't have anything larger than that, the main didn't really have a boosted side. I mean, it could technically get around effects that would temporarily reduce its power, I think.
Maybe.
Maybe. We'll have to look into that, but
It's kind of irrelevant. And it also doesn't interact very well with stick. So the ability sets the power. It doesn't say increased by. It's this card is X power. And stick
So
is
you
like,
play that-
It's so bad.
yeah, so you play the Pharynx friend, and you're like, yeah, sweet, I have a 3 power changeling, it's got eccentric, and I gain control of an opposing friend, and why doesn't my main do anything?
yes, these are all 1
I mean,
threes.
white boosts power, but
It's usually temporary, usually takes some cards to do so,
Very
and you're
temporary.
not really boosting it by that much more. Usually you're boosting a 2 power character and it's going up to 4. So, was not great.
All right. Well, so some feedback happened and then it changed.
In the complete opposite direction.
So it now says this card has plus X power, where X is the highest power amongst your friends on the backside.
So now, that 3 power Pharynx makes your Ocellus 6 power, and the Raku still works.
Oh, and stick still works too.
yep,
This got really dumb
this was
really
fun.
fast.
Didn't we like end up having to ban a main because it got too big?
Yes.
Yes. Ocellus Blue was one of the fastest aggro decks I've seen in a long time.
It's insane.
This was like really, really stupidly good. Like really
It
stupidly
was
good.
it was really hard to make this main lower than 5 power.
Yeah, it was absolutely crazy what this thing was capable of doing. And so it was obvious that the pendulum had swung too far in the other direction. The main started off doing almost nothing, and now it was just a dominant all-star, and we didn't know of a deck that was going to be fast enough to compete with it. So things had to be scaled back.
And then it changed again. That's kind of funny that we're talking about a changeling changing.
Well,
Yeah.
changeling can change.
Much to
And
my
then it was terrible.
disappointment. Okay, so that was obviously too strong. So the back now says, while you have a friend with power with a higher power than its cost, this card has +2 power. That's common with the one that released, but it did say instead of paying 3, pay 4 to double this card's power.
Now, there were a lot of playtesters who tested this card, and a lot of different styles of decks. A lot of blue that was still going around, some yellow with the changeling theme, definitely some orange for farming. And there was one thing that was kind of unanimous among all those playtesters during this time, and that is that I am never using that second ability.
That costs too much.
The effect was good, and we liked the flavor of the effect. It was thematic, and it worked well with what White wanted to do, and it had good
It's
deck
very
synergy.
White.
But, like, how can you possibly afford to pay 4 AT to boost one character's power in White?
That's an entire turn. If not multiple turns. No, too expensive.
So, had to be scaled back again.
Well, it
Or,
wasn't
I'm sorry,
scaled back,
scaled up again.
so it had to get better.
Yes.
And then it changed from 4 AT to 3 AT, and this is the printed main.
Right. So when cards get tested, it's not always changes made in the same direction. Sometimes you'll make changes to make cards better, sometimes you'll make changes to make cards worse, and sometimes you'll do both for the same card. We'll see that again here in a moment.
Well, we'll see that in a moment, but next up I think we've got something else a little bit more crazy to talk about.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's blue.
Let's talk about pillars.
Being blue.
Specifically, let's talk about Flash Magnus.
Oh, but I want to talk about the other pillar.
No, we're going to talk about Flash Magnus. Because
All right.
this is, yeah.
This was
yeah.
This was the initial design for the Flash Magnus Ultra Rare. To answer the Warfrog's question, was there a reason that 4AT was the initial test cost? It was just kind of chosen as a starting number. It was evident that 2 was going to be too low, and I think the individual in charge of set design at that point in time just decided to go with 4. Thank you, Kevin, for the Pillar Mare theme.
Right. Now, this is actually fairly similar to the printed card in a lot of respects, but notice for a moment that this has much lower requirement, and when this card is moved, it's just free. Just scare something.
But it also didn't have Swift.
Right. And yeah, as Bugle says, it's just a big pirate dash. Okay, sure. Well, it's got Agile, so that's kind of interesting. Okay, whatever.
But for an ultra rare, just having a big pirate dash that had already, I mean, it was space that had already been explored before, and all you were really doing was slapping a keyword onto it.
Yeah, this doesn't pass the Thunderlane test.
Let's make it past Thunderlane test.
Let's make it past the Thunderlane test. Let's give it Swift.
Pay 1 AT to frighten?
Sweet Celestia, what is this?
I see absolutely no problem with this. Pay 1 AT to frighten. Repeatable until the friend is gone. Seems fine.
Oh yeah, and you only need 2 blue to get into this. This is fine, right? Everything's fine. I'm okay with this.
The funny thing here is this was okay for a little while before anyone tried playing with it. People looked at it and were like, yeah, sure, I guess.
Yeah, it
Then
seems
you put it
better.
in then you put it in a deck and you were like, oh no.
It was amazing.
It's like, well, that's maybe a bit too good. That seems like really, really good for only 2 blues.
Sure, because we were talking about the Thunderlane test, right?
Right.
Thunderlane was a card that cost 4 AT, and it had 4 blue requirement. And it was obvious that this card was going to be better than Thunderlane with that second version. So let's make it a bit more on par. Let's make them work for it, and not just have decks able to splash with Fire of Friendship to play a Flash Magnus.
Sure. Okay, so now the card is basically is most easily accessible by Mono Blue, and you can get into it if you want to and you're in different colors, but you're going to work for it. Notice, however, that nothing else has changed. So now he's just kind of sitting there going, I only show up some of the times, but I still wreck everything when I do.
And the decks that were running this card before continued running it, because it turns out they were usually blue to begin with anyway.
Well, whatever.
And Swift, Agile, Frighten a Friend for 1 AT.
Nah, that's a bit.
There you go. All else fails, add an AT cost onto something.
Basically.
Yeah.
This like ridiculously cheap Frighten was so strong.
So this winds him back a little bit to the point where if you always choose to pay the cost to frighten something, it's basically equivalent to the original design. But you don't always have to pay it, which still means that you've still got a Swift Agile 4-power body.
And that's
which is
very
pretty
useful.
nice. Yeah.
Definitely playable. Does it pass the Thunder Lane test?
Debatable, but that's okay.
Yeah. It's exciting. And it definitely wins limited games, I will say that much.
Wins limited games.
It is limited.
You already won limited by pulling it.
All right, so we've looked at cards that have gotten better and cards that have gotten worse. But sometimes you start with an idea for a card and it just has to dramatically change. Let's take a look at one of those.
All right. So, untested magic fireworks.
Who liked Interdimensional Portal?
How about we have mass interdimensional portal?
This deck was, I think, the most fun deck I've ever played.
It was pretty great.
This was the original version of Untested Magic Fireworks. And it's funny because this card was kind of overkill. You played a traditional Burb deck and played this card and you splashed for bodyguards, and then the game ended on the spot.
Yeah. It's like, you know what I need here? I need just an instant win button in Burb.
I don't know if there was a single game I didn't concede to you when you played this, Chase.
You don't instantly win.
You might as well, though. Look at this mess.
I mean, the concession did happen when I used it.
Now, there was a lot of debate here on this card, and whether or not it was the fact that the effect was just too strong, because a lot of people had adapted to Burb. Burb was known. The meta knew about it. Whether or not the cost was just too low, and Bugle brings up a point in chat that he thought this wasn't fair at 5.
Well, let's look.
You changed the power, not the cost there.
Yeah, I changed the power, not the cost. Whatever. That's supposed to say 5 cost, not 4 cost.
Yeah, the cost went to 5, not the power.
So that's going to happen repeatedly because I made a mistake.
Oops.
So yeah, cost goes to 5, and it's just like, no. Just no.
It was still worth it. You just saved up the AT instead.
It's not like you didn't have an army of paper twilights.
And it was difficult because 5 did make it harder to play. And Anemoy brings up the point that the opponent could get enters play benefits too, but the problem is because you would generally play this on your turn if you wanted to, you would end up processing all of your triggers first most of the time.
Yeah.
So
it just got dumb.
Yeah.
So dumb that the conclusion is, you know what? This effect this just doesn't work.
Yes, choosing where every friend goes is not great. And we had to sit there and think about this because this was a very enjoyable card to play with for the person playing it, but it kind of filled the same design space as main 6. Yeah, it feels amazing to play it, but it feels terrible to play it on the other side, and does it actually do anything good for the game? And the answer we came to was no.
So it got ripped up and rebuilt, and it looks like this. This should say 3 cost, immediate frighten each friend, at the end of the turn, unfrighten each friend. Frighten this way.
So it should be 3 cost, not 4 cost. And,
this should be 3 cost and 4 power. Again, like I said, I made a mistake somewhere. Oops.
That's fine.
So, you get the idea. But I took immediate offense to this because at the end of the turn, if you were to, play this at the start of when your opponent tried to do anything useful on their turn, all of your AT generating friends, especially factory jacks, would just go ahead and reset themselves at the end of your opponent's turn, at which point you exhaust them and pay for this card for no net effect to you.
Or the glimmers that were also printed in this set, or, like Rainbow Shines to play more cheap events, or,
Yeah, whatever. But basically, Yeah, this became free if you had enough setup, and it would probably screw up whatever your opponent was doing. This also got annoying because you had to keep track of which things got scared by it and which things didn't, and ugh.
So this was mechanically difficult to keep track of and not really what we wanted to see.
So it changed. And this is very close to the printed card. There is an important difference here.
Let's see if anyone can spot the difference.
No
Anyone
cheating.
at all who might play a fireworks deck, for example.
No cheating. No?
No one's gonna.
No?
You already said that we can't say anything, so.
Well, Bugle does know because he also built the deck that abuses this to its fullest potential. This version does not say anything about face-down troublemakers, because cards do not affect face-down troublemakers unless they specifically refer to them. And that change was made, and that's basically the printed card.
It does silly things.
It
doesn't do what Mass Portal did. Technically Mass Luna's future.
Yes.
It may as well have been Mass Portal.
Mass portals are fun.
Yeah.
All those interplay effects.
The mirror match was one of the stupidest things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Nah. Alright, let's see, what else?
So, we've covered cards that have been designed initially and locked in. We've talked about how a card like that can be designed, and we've talked about how cards evolve. Some have to get better, some have to get nerfed, and some just have to change entirely. But there's one more type of card that we run into frequently playtesting. And I know there's going to be people here listening that are not going to believe us when we say this. But we don't always let every combo card through.
Oh boy.
I don't think we've ever intentionally let a combo through.
It's like, oh yeah, this is an infinite combo. Let's just let it see print. I don't think that's happened.
Now, I have tried, darn it.
You tried.
I've tried.
But you didn't succeed.
I've been shut down every time.
Because you can't have nice things. There is actually one other card that did evolve a little bit, but we'll talk about that after the combo shenanigans here. Shall we take a look at the first nugget of insanity?
Yes, let's.
Alright, so this is Pearl as it was printed, and it didn't actually change that much. What did change was the Joyous Sea Pony, or the Sea Pony cycle. So most players who are familiar with this will know that the cool things that happen on Enter's Play are generally on the pony side of things, and the Sea Ponies have some keyword ability. That's not always how it was. Originally, all the cool when this card enters play stuff was on the Sea Pony. And it's also important to note that at this point, Transform didn't have the restriction that the subtitle had to be different.
You could transform the same card into itself if you had 2 copies of it.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was great.
It was great. In fact, it was so great that with, I think, 2 colors and 12 AT and about 5 cards, you could go infinite. So Pinky here draws you 2 cards when she enters play. And the Pearl reduces the transform cost down to 1. So basically now I can pay 1 AT to draw 2 cards.
Throw in a moon, we'll throw in a bodyguards, we'll gain 2 AT, and ta-da!
Well, you don't even need a bodyguards, because the Fluttershy made 2 critters when it entered play.
Ah, that's right.
So by carefully alternating between Pinky and Fluttershy, you could end up generating a very large number of critter tokens, a lot of AT, and yeah. Oh, and by the way, Pearl makes this combo even easier because you can exhaust it to find the pieces that you need to run the combo. This is dumb.
So this had to be changed.
So these got changed.
Well, the sea ponies got changed.
The sea ponies, of course, now don't have the on-airs play effects. Those moved on to the ponies, and the sea ponies have keyword abilities. In Pinky's case, it's just hasty. Transform was also changed so that they had to have different subtitles.
Yes. But this is not the only combo that has been killed in playtesting. Oh no.
No. Let's talk about something a little bit more recent.
And also easier to pull off.
And evil. Wait, is he actually evil? I don't know.
Not on this version, but it's fine.
No, he was falsely accused. See?
It says right there on the card. So the original version of Stygian and Herd of Adoring Fans. Stygian, I believe, did not actually change.
Nope, he is exactly the same.
But Herd did. You'll note that says when this card enters play.
Now, this is a completed combo, so I'm going to need you to walk me through it, Ara. There's a lot of steps here and a lot of cards involved. And wait, no, it's just these.
Literally just these 2 cards. So you have a Stygian somewhere, and you put a Herd on him, and then you make a token copy of Stygian. So that entered play. So I'm going to make a token copy of Herd of Adoring Fans and put it on that token copy of Stygian. So now I'm going to put another Stygian into play. Then I'm going to make another token copy of Herd, which is going to go on the Stygian. Then I'm going to make a... and so on and so forth.
And the Werefrog brings up a good point. Yes, this works even if your opponent is the one with the Stygian.
And then something fun happens. Is you have this army of Stygian clones, and when you move one, they all move.
Now, I suppose there's also one other thing we should point out with Herd of Adoring Fans here, and I don't know if we actually did. There's another bit of text on this missing, and I can't believe we forgot this.
Go on.
If you'll look, this herd says you can play it on any friend.
I don't know, it seems okay.
So it turned out being able to play Herd of Adoring Fans on Fluttershy backup vocals. Well, Beagle's got
Pretty
the right
good.
deck, at least, yeah. Playing it on Cloney, unfortunately, does nothing because Cloney has to be played. But playing it on backup vocals to make a token copy of backup vocals and also bounce it to your hand so you could also play it on your AT generator, saving you one card in the combo, was really good. And it's worth noting that the card had actually been nerfed to a cost of 2 and a rec of 3 in exchange for it only functioning on being played. So.
Yeah.
Sometimes you break one combo only to find another.
Yeah. So this doesn't work on entering play anymore, because that was a problem. But we are not done yet.
You mean there's more stuff from this set that's broken?
Yeah, that takes too long to get anything done. Sure, it makes a bunch of Stygian copies, but you know what? I want to, like, instantly.
Like any good deck does.
Right. So, a couple of things here. This is Miss Main. She didn't have her ability to return her from discard pile, but that's irrelevant because she functions on entering play. I'm sensing a common theme here. We're also going to look at Trixie, who does not have a floor to her cost. The setup here should be quite obvious. You play 2 Trixies. You play a Mistmane. You portal the Mistmane, and then you start laughing.
Instant profit.
Because the Mistmane enters play, you grab the portal out of your discard pile, you play the portal. It's free because there's 2 Trixies and a Unicorn entered play. And then Mistmane, leaves play and enters play again. You grab the portal out of your discard pile, and portal's free to play. And it's only a short journey to 15 points from there.
Sonnet Scroll says, just stop putting enters play on cards already. Well,
But I like burbing things.
it's funny you mention that, because that is kind of a checklist that has been added to the end of a lot of set design. Of, all right, let's go through all the cards now and check everything that says when this card enters play and see if that's allowed to exist.
So fixing this one was actually a belt and suspenders thing. Not only did Mistmane get turned into a when you play, Trixie got a minimum put onto her cost reduction.
And Portal got banned.
Yeah. Yep. That took a bit of time, though, and it was unrelated.
Yes.
It's like Portal was a really good card or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it was alright.
All right.
It was
One last one.
Let's go back a couple sets, huh?
Yeah, let's go back a couple sets.
Oh, you switched the power here. This is still supposed to be 4 cost and 2 power. I asked you about the ordering of this too.
Yeah, well, I messed it up on all of mine.
There you go, that's fair. Alright. This is not what Orchard Blossom did. Orchard Blossom was 4 cost and 2 power. But the text is correct. She also functioned on entering play.
I'm sensing a common theme here.
Yes. It turns out that when it comes to design, there are certain phrases, certain abilities that you have to be very careful about with wording and be very watchful of because they are known to cause problems. Anything that says gain AT, anything that says draw cards, anything that says put a card from your discard pile back into your hand, and certainly anything that can cheat cards into play.
anything that says gain a point.
Now, that's not concerning.
We've had cards before.
Well, that's not concerning on its own, no.
No, Orchard Blossom was interesting because it created an interesting loop. You see, if you could have Orchard Blossom enter play, and then in the Harmony format bring back, say, a Queen Chrysalis Identity Theft as a copy of Orchard Blossom, then Queen Chrysalis would trigger, and she'd mill you for another 3 cards, and then reanimate something.
Like the copy of Orchard Blossom? Or another Chrysalis?
Let's reanimate another Chrysalis and see what happens. Okay, so we have 1 Chrysalis, now we have 2. So 1 goes away. And that other one still entered play as an Orchard Blossom, so we still mill 3 and reanimate like the Chrysalis again.
Yeah, sounds good.
As an Orchard Blossom. And then mill 3 and continue doing it. Where did my deck go?
I don't
it's
know,
gone.
but look at all these friends I have to choose from now.
Oh man, this seems fun. I have no cards left in my deck, but I can reanimate anything in my discard pile.
Seems a little spicy to me.
Yeah. Never saw play, unfortunately, but that does tell you that. Oh yes, like Element of Generosity, or the Starlight, which back then used to reanimate a friend when it entered or at the end of your turn for free. Yes, an element of generosity does choose element of generosity and element of generosity. I think I've shared this story with Bugle more than once. I think I've shared this story with all of you more than once. I'm not trying to beat it here. So design. Two different types, top down and bottom up. Sometimes something clicks, sometimes you got to make adjustments, and sometimes it's just straight up broken and has to be changed. Let's take a look at a few cards that we hope aren't completely broken.
Well,
Does
let's
that mean
see.
spoilers?
I think
Yes,
that does.
Bugle does bring up mimics. For those of you who love mimics and all the taxing that it applies to your cards now, it used to just not let you play that card type. So, you know.
That seems kind of good.
It never said friends, thankfully.
Yeah. If it said friends, it'd be like, that needs a bonus of like 5 or 6. Yeah. Yeah.
It just needs to not say friends.
It just needs to not say friends. And it probably should have had 2 bonus, but
All right, let's take a look at a few spoilers.
All right. So earlier this week, I believe Bugle covered this one in something. So we got some reindeer, actually. Yes, bichromatism. There we go. And so this is a very interesting effect here. And I believe Bugle's done a fairly thorough analysis here.
Now, I have a question for you, Arquette.
Yes.
Aurora Borealis. At this time of day, in this part of the country, localized entirely within your Twitch stream.
Yes.
May I play it?
No.
Okay. I have gotten my name out of the way.
Yeah, so we have a bizarre combination.
Sufficiently memed.
You're sufficiently memed, yes.
So this is a combination of, well, effects we've seen before, kind of.
We got a little bit of PFF here and a little bit of Octavia combined together. It's 2 great tastes that taste great together. Or do they? Because they don't. They're weird. They don't quite click together.
Yeah, this is a bit unusual, and Bugle has written some interesting information on this in the Discord channel, if you haven't been there yet. That really talks about when you might use this. You can use it to try to lock your opponent out of playing a friend that you think is important to them. You can use it with a fast retire effect to get a friend that is important to you. Or you can even use it like an insurance policy. If you already have a friend that's important to you in play, you can play this, and then in the event that they beat up or dismiss the friend you have, you can get this out of play to find another one. And occasionally you'll be in a mirror match and it'll just be hilarious. When you play this in name Mistmane, then everyone is sad. Don't play this in name Mistmane. It makes people sad.
What? That sounds hilarious.
That just makes me want to do it more.
All right, next card.
Let's see, another one that Bugle spoiled earlier today in A. So you want to be a cloud chaser. We got some critter love here.
Who doesn't love critters? Critters are so kind and friendly and harmless, and definitely don't make Nightmare Moon shudder.
And definitely aren't two carrion birds that... Yeah.
No. Also, is that a pun in the flavor text?
What do you think?
Probably. Basically on her hooves.
Now, this is, of course, ignoring the fact that those claws would be doing some damage right about now.
Whatever, she's okay. She's fine. Don't worry about it.
She doesn't seem that concerned.
Yeah, it's great. It's fine, I'm sure. So, finding 3 critter friends, all with different names out of your deck, is an interesting effect, something that raised some questions in Discord earlier today. Like, what happens if I only have 2 differently named critters?
They can always fail to find.
Correct. Anytime you're searching for card or cards, you can find as many or as few of those cards as possible. So, in the case of this, you could find any combination of cards with different names between 0 and 3.
Yeah, which might be handy if you want to leave critters in your deck for some reason.
Like flip a Brian and put it into play. Or flip an Opal and banish an opposing friend with 2 power.
Or maybe you're up to some shenanigans with Goldie Delicious.
Ooh, that'd be spicy.
Opal is fun. Banish all the things.
Well, no, it's not all the things. If it was all the things, it would be a problem.
All the small things.
Bugle has linked a list of all of the friends that are in the soon-to-be rotated core, and there's not a lot right now.
Oh yeah.
In fact, there's 6.
Goose Luna is a critter, isn't she?
Yes, indeed, she is.
Gluna.
Gluna.
Yeah.
That's gonna be
Not
her
call
name,
her
isn't
Gluna,
it?
No.
I have
no,
a feeling that's gonna be her name.
No.
That's her name now.
Oh yeah, there's that spike critter too. No, that's a good point. There's a lot of fun stuff in there. Shenanigans. Yeah, if you're running...
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, if you're running around with a what is that? Why am I blanking on her name? The Fluttershy main. This is going to be a silly card in Harmony.
Oh, what the
Friend of animals?
Yeah.
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 I'm gonna find me an eagle. I'm gonna find me a forest owl. I'm gonna find me a Brian, and find everything. If I remember, Ballroom Blitz was yellow white, wasn't it? So I'm gonna find some like critter choirs, and yeah.
Oh. Yikes. I'm gonna go with yikes. This is gonna get scary.
This sounds like good times. I see nothing wrong with this.
It does sound like good times.
Well, we've also heard some discussion in the community recently about what the heck you guys said that Set 11 had a Point Matters theme, and we haven't seen anything yet. Well, we weren't lying.
We weren't?
No.
No. And also, someone tells me that today is Rarity Day or some crap, which I'm quite frankly offended by because every day is Arqueen Day.
Doesn't that by proxy mean that every day is Every Pony Day?
Correct.
Okay, just making sure.
That also mean that every day is No Pony Day at the same time.
This is not possible. Anyway, let's look at our Point Matters theme.
How much do they matter?
Yeah. So there's some shenanigans here. So there's entry that does cool stuff, like late game.
Wait, what?
Not
Oh,
wait
white.
game.
I was like, what?
WAIT, not wait gain. Waiting game.
Yeah. So as Bugle is noting, yeah, this works regardless of who ends up over the point threshold. You know, it'd be a darn shame if it didn't work the same way as action tokens did. Because that's what it does.
Yep. So if your opponent is playing a very fast, aggressive deck, you're going to get these effects online very quickly.
Yeah, and that's Bugle comes up with a hilarious situation there too.
That sounds awful.
You want to be careful if your opponent's got some of these. You could have a bad time.
How about another one? Let's see another one.
Let's keep on that theme and switch over to Twy here. So, keeping in the theme of entry that's valuable late game, how about entry that you want to keep around until late game?
That's a harder sell. Purple often has a lot of cards that it wants to keep at its home, and, well, we're going to tap sideways to gain AT.
Yeah, that's good. How about copying an event effect, though?
I like doing that. I mean, sure, you have to get rid of the card to do so, but presumably by that point you should have other entry.
Hey, whatever. It's just a darn shame that you can't use this to feed belly flop as well as copy it.
Hey, I have an idea. Didn't we just spoil that Into the Stream of Silence a couple weeks ago?
Yeah,
Wasn't that like this first spoiler?
it's one of the first ones.
Yeah, let's play Into the Stream of Silence and then choose both problems. No. No abilities.
That sounds okay.
Or let's play Bluna Purple Aggro and we'll run Storm of Justice. And
You know
we
what
will
would be
play
so
our
much
first
better?
Storm of Justice.
What, if it said 3 or less so you could copy, read the manual? No. Not allowed.
If you just, take the second to last phrase or portion of that and just remove it. Just remove the cost.
You may copy that ends effects. I'm going to
No.
go with no.
No,
gonna-
remove the you may banish this card.
No.
Right, just copy that ends effects.
No.
Yes.
She is
That
indeed
would
free
be
with Flash.
amazing.
No, that sounds terrible.
And this is interesting because Purple hasn't really had a lot of great vanilla entry. It's had some. I mean, Magical Pony is fine. But that's really about it.
Well, Magical Pony and Loyal Pony, but you know what?
Loyal Pony is not purple.
No. So, Loyal Pony's still good. Loyal Pony goes in every deck that's blue. All decks are blue.
Sure.
What?
You heard me.
What? That's like saying all decks are white because they run aloe.
That would make all decks colorless, thank you.
No.
XD.
All decks are white if they run aloe. Deal with it.
And you know what? Since we're having so much fun looking at purple, what do you think? You want to look at one more purple card?
Nah,
Only if it has Twilight on it.
it's a darn shame that it does.
Yay! Oh, hey, look, a main.
She's so excited. She's gotten her neck has gotten a lot longer over the years.
Twilight has actually grown quite a bit since she got wings.
Twilight was better before she had wings.
Lies and slander. Okay.
This is where I'm sure we can come back to for a later discussion on design. Because this went through some hoops as well. But we'll touch on that later. Let's look at it now.
So we've got, continuing with our flip condition of not just being, boring confront to flip.
I believe that the rules currently support modifiers tracking a card across a zone if it refers to a specific event.
Yeah. Basically, the rules say if it needs to track it, it tracks it.
Across one zone change. So that will function. And in this case, it can because you have to reveal the card. So the flip condition here is, as noted, it does cost you giving some information up, but it's not confront to flip. So
yeah,
she's,
you will have to reveal your entire hand, every card that's in it, no matter how many cards are there. However, this in exchange is going to let you play a lot of your cards for a lot less. Well, 180 less, but a lot of times.
Yeah. And if you have something that's capable of setting the top of your deck, like, oh, I don't know, Selena Blue?
Or a bunch of Meticulous. Or, yeah. Scope things out.
Yes, name is the full title and subtitle of the card.
Nap takes her own card. Sweetie Belle.
Aloe.
Sure.
Yeah. Oh, come on, you gotta let me twist your tail a little bit, though.
Sure. Aloe is fine. Now, it is important, as we noted, that this will only affect that one copy of the card. It'll track that card across the zone chain from your deck to your hand. So even if you have multiple cards with that name, it's only going to be that one copy that you'll be able to play for the reduced action token payment.
Right. And as her name suggests, she's going to be best in a deck that includes more options than copy. It goes wide, not deep. So many different options rather than a lot of some options. So she's going to work better in toolbox kinds of decks. Or Highlander, yeah. Just straight up Highlander.
Guaranteed flip seems fine.
So there's your Galaxy Brain play. Run a Highlander deck with this.
Actual support for Highlander format.
Shocked and appalled.
We spoiled 2 die cards in the rarity day.
Yep.
I know we spoiled 1 rarity card, but whatever.
You may choose the order because those are all start of the turn triggers. So you're Meticulous, and this can be ordered however you like, including weaving, say, Spell Showdown into here as well.
Bugle says spoil the rarity main to make it equal. Not yet.
Nah.
You should make the headache of start of turn triggers even more complicated by having it parked at ancient research.
Please no. Can we not?
No, that'd be okay.
An instance of Meticulous 1 and an instance of Meticulous 2 as well.
Nah. Not complicated enough. I mean, to be perfectly honest, I'd prefer to just Selena, at the end of my opponent's turn and just be like, haha.
Well,
I'd
hopefully
like
this
to
has some gold.
Selena all day, every day.
Right? Selena's just so much value. Hopefully this gets some people excited about some new possibilities for purple. Can't wait to see someone try purple aggro with this. Meticulous all of a sudden is an aggro keyword.
You're implying that it wasn't already because, it's running Moon Dancer, which means it's an aggro deck.
Just had to get that last one in there.
Yep.
Yep.
That's fair. Well, that will about wrap up our discussion on this topic for today, except for one thing. We've been talking so much about all these set 11 cards, set 11 this and set 11 that, and that just kind of feels awkward. Doesn't really roll off the tongue.
What, it's not just called set 11?
No.
I feel cheated and lied to. This is the second time tonight I found out you lied to me.
We did no such thing.
Technically, I think I was lying to you first.
I mean, I expect that, though.
What? You're implying that all changelings are liars?
Duh.
I mean, yeah, fair. I can't really argue with that.
The set name is Leaders and Legends.
Kev.
Nice emotes. Those are great.
Pause for dramatic effect. That's why we let Grandpaws do these things, because
Because I pause for dramatic emotes.
pauses.
Oh, because I paused. Yes. That was. I see what you did there. And I hate it.
You're welcome. It was the work of an enemy stand.
All right. Well, before we go too deep into Meantown, let's go ahead and wrap up our discussion on this topic for today. We would like to give a big shout out to all of our patrons on Patreon. Thank you so much for your regular support. If you aren't currently a patron and you enjoy what we do, please consider donating, as doing so does enable us to continue making content like this. If you have comments or questions you'd like to send our way, or if you're just interested in hearing about what we're working on for the future, there are many ways you can stay in contact. We have our Patreon, as mentioned previously, but you can also reach us through Facebook, Twitter, and email. And patrons at or above the $5 per month level also get access to our Slack channel, where you can chat live with us any day, anytime. If you are looking to watch any of our previous videos, including tournament recordings, you can find them on our YouTube channel linked in the sidebar, and please make sure to subscribe so we can have a channel URL that makes some amount of sense. With all that being said, due to each and every one of our viewers, both here now and watching this recording later, we are, as always, Commentary as Magic. I am, as always, Grandpaws.
Big cheese.
Yeah, Murlocs.
And Ivory Starlight. I'm gonna go kill this Murloc real quick.
Sounds good. We'll see you all in a couple weeks.
Bye.